Hey everybody, my name is Danielle and this is Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. Your presence is very much appreciated. So welcome or welcome back. I wanted to share an update on Big Brother Season 24, BB24. So if you're interested, keep listening. All right, I wanted to share a little bit of what I'm seeing on the feeds. It's quite interesting. I want to start off with them being served alcohol last night, sitting at the table with the GoPro, and it appears to have been a great moment for the house guests. A few of them appeared to be a little mellow, right? But nevertheless, it was a cool moment and they were getting along. While sitting at the table, they were talking about ZINGBOT and the BB comics, right? They went around the table to share if they liked their BB comics and and they gave it a rating. And then they went around the table talking about their zings by ZINGBOT. All right, so I'm going to run through each of the house guests that remained. So Taylor mentioned that her BB comic had Lay's potato chips in it. I look forward to seeing that one. I thought that's what I heard. And she was happy with the way hers looked. They got her posture correct, according to her, and she liked it. She also said that her zing, she felt, was a compliment to her. Alyssa wasn't happy about her zing, nor was she happy about her BB comic. She was more bothered by the zing. She says that her BB comic is not a true depiction of her because she doesn't shop. And I think hers was called Mall-Lissa, like going to the mall and shopping. But she definitely was not happy about her zing. And if you remember, we saw it on the episode that her zing referred to her as being a winter coat or something like that. And using the adjective, she was useless and dead weight, or dead weight and useless. I forget the order. But Alyssa was very bothered by that. And so much so, now to me, it seems like she's working harder than ever to now play the game. So maybe that affected her in a positive way. Turner's comic and his zing apparently both related to him being dirty. And if you don't know, there's like a running thing in the house where Turner doesn't shower daily, maybe every other day. And when he was a have-not and was out in the Dire Fest, I think he showered even less often, because he likes hot water, not cold water. So apparently his comic was Rug of War, and he was gray and dirty. Anyway, he didn't like it, but he appeared to be a good sport about it. Brittany was definitely bothered by her eye zing from ZINGBOT. I didn't catch her thoughts on her BB comic specifically. I mentioned in my last update that her BB comic was Brit Flea, insinuating that she's attached herself to a host or like a leech. Basically, she's being carried in the game by Michael, right? Because she's attached herself to Michael and is being carried by her. And so that's what's behind Brit Flea. That was kind of shady by production, by the way. Monty was bothered because his zing was that he was boring. Personally, I thought that zing was spot on. It wasn't funny, but it was spot on. Monty is boring, but he doesn't feel like he is. And for the record, he has terrible impersonations. Terrible. Terrence's zing had to do with calling him a fossil. Whatever. He was a little bothered by it, but he did love his BB comic. Apparently it has something to do with DJ Showtime, so he liked that. And Michael, he didn't love his zing, but he was a good sport because he said he considers like the ZINGBOT as being a rite of passage in the Big Brother game. So that's how he took it. And by the way, Michael's zing was that he was ugly. And I saw a tweet by his fiance says, "Oh no, you're not ugly." It was cute. All right. And oh yeah, I put a poll on my community page, and the question was, did you like ZINGBOT's zing this year? At the time of this recording, 52% of you guys answered no, you did not like ZINGBOT's zing this year of BB24. 26% of you did like it, and 22% of you said, I don't care. And I hear you on that. The season is fading fast. There's, I believe, like 3 weeks left. And this upcoming eviction night will be a double eviction. So the end is coming. So just to wrap up on the house guests' thoughts on their BB comics and zings, most of them appear to be a good sport about it, at least on the surface level. But we know for a fact that Brittany, Alyssa, and Turner were really bothered by theirs. I also wanted to capture or to talk about a clip I saw online. I can't find this in the feeds, but someone did share a clip of this. And this is when Alyssa was telling a story about a hockey player that offered to fly her to some random place. And this random place was Syracuse, New York. And then she proceeded to ask the other house guests, have you ever even heard of that before? Oh my gosh. I'm just going to let that sit there. Okay. Oh yeah, yesterday I did see a clip of Taylor and Terrence on the patio when they were figuring out the meaning behind the BB comics. When they were talking about Alyssa's dead weight and useless, they figured that one out and they knew what that one meant. But then Terrence brought up Brittany's. And again, Brittany's was Brit Flea. And they talked about Terrence was telling Taylor, like, what does a flea do? It's attach itself to a host. Like, he was explaining it to her, and they figured it out, and they thought it was funny. And then we hear production play an audio, and to me, the audio sounded like it said shade. But when I hear other reviewers talk about it, they said that production said zing, right? Zing would make more sense, I guess. But this made Taylor and Terrence burst out laughing, and that was pretty funny. Oh, by the way, on BB Twitter, which I told you that is a whole different experience, right? Someone used the analogy of Dora the Explorer when describing Michael and Brittany, where Michael is Dora and Brittany is the backpack. Oh, that one made me chuckle. All right, so let me share a spoiler while I'm here. We know that Michael is the HOH. The original nominations were Terrence and Alyssa. We know Michael won the power of veto, which I didn't mention in my last update. He's now set a record as the most comp wins in a single season. I think he had 10 wins, and that's beating out Janelle, who had 9, who previously held the record for like 16 years. So congratulations, Michael. All right, I just wanted to acknowledge that and recognize that. Okay, but earlier this afternoon, after the veto ceremony, Michael opted not to use the power of veto. And so, Teresa, Terrence and Alyssa remain on the block. So one of them will be the first of 2 players leaving on the next eviction night. And remember, there's a double eviction. So Terrence or Alyssa will be the first of 2 players leaving on the next eviction night. A few more observations really quickly. Terrence is still fighting, as he should as a player in the game. You never roll over in the game. You fight until you hear Julie say your name and that you've been evicted from the Big Brother house. So I applaud him for not rolling over and dying. He tried to have another game talk with Michael, explaining why he chose Taylor to play in the power of veto. And he was going on saying something about he was testing Turner. And then he said he didn't want Turner to have to pick between him and Alyssa because Turner likes Alyssa, you know. It was confusing, but whatever. And Terrence is trying to convince Michael that he is better for Michael's game versus Alyssa. So he's still trying. Brittany appears to have wanted Michael to use the veto and nominate Monty. But that didn't happen. She also offered Turner a final 2, which Turner then told Michael. And when we saw this, aren't we like, Brittany, what are you doing? Turner doesn't think Brittany can really offer him anything because she can't win comps. And Turner's playing a game too, so of course he's gonna tell what he knows, right? And Brittany was then pushing for Michael to put up Turner, but Michael didn't want to go back on their deal when they got Kyle out, because remember that Kyle went out on Turner's HOH. And that was the deal between him and Michael. Like Michael said, if you choose to take that shot at Kyle, if I win, I won't put you up. So he's holding to that deal. I don't know. From what it sounds like, Brittany is affected by her BB comic for sure. And maybe this is influencing how she's playing the game from here on out, because now she's trying to take control of her game, and the key word is trying, right? And maybe it just bothers her and she doesn't want to be seen as a flea on Michael's back. She's bothered by it for sure, and I really think it's beginning, or it's impacting her game. And maybe it makes sense of why, or it explains, I should say, why she's been so erratic. She told Taylor to give them 5 minutes when she and Michael were chatting in the HOH, and it ticked Michael off. And she could tell it ticked him off because she later then went and tried to find Taylor. And when she left, well, he was already annoyed and she could tell. But when she left the room, he was talking to the cameras and saying, well, why would you do that, Brittany? We're not even talking about anything. That's so dumb. It makes us look sketchy. And that's true, because apparently, right, the three of them, Taylor, Michael, and Brittany, are supposed to be having this final three. So it just was, she's doing things and making, or attempting to make, quote unquote, big moves, as she told Alyssa, right? When it's just not necessary. And she's getting on Michael's nerves. But I don't think this will change anything for him, though, because he knows he can beat her in the end. And from what it sounds like from last night's episode during Brittany's DR, right, she appears to be very happy with taking second place because she is taking Michael to the final two. Those were her own words. Well, she didn't say she was happy with second place, but she said that she has every intention of taking Michael to being with Michael in the final two. All right, Alyssa's trying to make final four with Michael, Brittany, and Taylor, then a final three with the girls. She's trying, you guys. She also told Michael about the pound, only Michael already knew about the pound. She was trying to use that as leverage, saying, see, I'm being honest with you, I'm sharing information. So she's trying. Everyone is targeting Michael for sure, except Brittany. So Michael will have to win from here on out. I'm not saying anything that everyone doesn't already know, especially as fans, right? He would have to win the veto. Let's see. Yeah, he'll have to win from here on out. He can't play in the next HOH, but he can play in the veto because everybody plays in the veto. So if Brittany doesn't win the next HOH, Michael has to win veto. And then basically he has to win from here on out because everyone's after him except Brittany. And the odds are pretty slim, right? Or low, I guess that's the term, of Brittany winning anything, because everything she's won was thrown to her. Right? All right. What else do I want to say? Oh, Monty is convinced that they have the comp with some. Oh, yeah. I made a note because Monty keeps referring to, I just need that comp with the balls or something. He's talking about a comp with a ball or balls. And he knows that's his comp and he can win. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's just funny to hear, you know, because Michael is just dominating everyone, dominating in the competitions. And, you know, everyone always say, well, I just need this one thing. No, you need to win the comps that you're playing, period. Just stop saying, oh, if I get this one. You don't know which comp is coming up. Just win already. All right, so Michael is HOH. He nominated Terrence and Alyssa. One of them will be the first of two players to leave the house next eviction night, because it will be a double eviction. So it's going to be a week of Big Brother in one night. It's actually slotted for 2 hours, so we have a longer program on double eviction. I liked when they had it 1 hours with double eviction. That moved really fast. I'm hoping it's a good episode. We'll see. I think everyone except Brittany is gunning for Michael, so Michael needs to win from here on out. Right? And I already mentioned he's kind of vulnerable this week because he can't play HOH. So he'll have the opportunity to play veto, and he'll need to win veto to guarantee his safety. All right. So that's all I have. I'd like for you to like, share, follow, and subscribe, all of which will help my channel grow. So thank you in advance. All right, my name is Danielle. You're listening to Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I appreciate your support. And that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.